Ah, yes, come in. Our featured presentation is about to start. You have entered into cult cinema with the dastardly evil Cheesefilm and my partner in crime, Hecubus. This is the Grindhouse Podcast. We're coming to get you, Barbara.
Welcome back to the Grindhouse Podcast. I am your host, as always, Cheesefilm.
As always.
And joined with me, as always,
Watson.
is my Watson. Yes.
It's elementary.
It's elementary. And back behind the camera is this week's Sir Henry, played by Randy Official.
Hello.
And today we're talking about the Hound of the Baskervilles, which is a Sherlock Holmes story inspired by the novel Sherlock Holmes
From 1902.
and the Hound of the Baskervilles.
This came out in 1959.
The poster reminds me of Magic cards.
Really?
Which you got the poster of the dog?
Wolf. Yeah, the wolf.
Yeah,
It looks awesome.
I've got the Arrow release, and it's got Peter Cushing kind of looking to the left. It's got what's his name who plays Watson.
Errol Morell.
Yeah, and he's kind of like looking forward, and then you got Christopher
Morell.
Lee behind all three of them, looking like he's scared out of his mind. I thought Christopher Lee was going to be Watson because Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing were the dynamic duo.
Yeah.
So having Christopher Lee play Sir Henry was a nice little switch, because it played against my expectations and allowed me to appreciate André's performance as Watson. And I don't think Christopher Lee, and not any diss to him, I don't think Christopher Lee could play a good Watson.
No, he's not the Watson type.
He's not.
And he's way too tall. You can't be like, okay, Watson.
You might notice that I'm talking a little weird, and this is why we were off last week, was because I was sick. Now Mr. Hecubus might be falling ill too.
Well, I'm getting better.
He's getting better. We're all getting better. Because this movie was fantastic. Loved it.
You were talking about it now. It's spoiled for me. We'll get to the
that's
other
a
one. Personal thing. But okay, and you know what? I agree with you.
I loved it. And it's a Hammer
this is great.
movie, which I think I might like Hammer horror more than I like Universal horror. I think there's just something more.
Well, it's more modern, even though it is old.
But it feels more intimate, I guess, because they don't have huge budgets. They're not trying to pull a spectacle. They're just doing.
Oh right, yeah, that's true.
B-movie horror stuff.
And they use a lot of makeup.
A lot of makeup,
so that stuff could look cool.
They don't overshoot. They play to their advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Like in this one, the Hound itself is like a Great Dane, and you don't see it. They do a Jaws thing. We don't see it until the very end.
Yeah.
And they got some mask on it or something.
It is nuts. They have a disguise on the
dog.
Yeah. And I assume that's the book part too.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like somebody put a mask on a dog and it scared everybody.
Yeah, because it's not. They say it's an evil dog, hound, hellhound.
Yeah.
But it's a bloodhound is what it really is. It's just someone with
a mask.
Vendetta, yeah, putting a mask on a dog. But the poster Randy showed would lead you to believe that it's like a werewolf.
Yeah.
So I thought this was going to be a werewolf movie, and it's not.
It's a Sherlock Holmes movie.
Yeah, it's a Sherlock Holmes movie investigating the supernatural disturbances.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, that's not real. So let's find out what's actually happening.
Right.
And I think that's awesome.
I think it's cool too. And everybody believes it's some of them it's a con.
Right.
So they're not really believing it. But this was the first Sherlock Holmes movie to be filmed in color.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was going to be the start of Terence Fisher directed it, and
he was going to do
more with
Peter Cushing
Yeah,
as Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, those two guys are going to be Sherlock Holmes. I think they did it one more time later on, but this wasn't a big enough hit. So they kind of abandoned that, which I think sucks.
I do too, because it's.
I would have watched
I think
them.
it's great, and I think Peter Cushing does a great job at Sherlock
He's
Holmes.
perfect.
And
He insisted on the hat too.
good, good because
They didn't want the hat, and he insisted on the hat. He's a huge
Sherlock Holmes.
or Conan Doyle fan. Yeah,
So I watched this with Courtney, and he doesn't wear the hat until pretty good into the movie.
yeah.
He puts it on, and like literally the scene before they cut to him with the hat, she's like, "Why isn't he wearing his little hat? Where is it?" And then it cuts, and they're in the night in the foresty area, and he's wearing his hat, and I was like, "Well, there it is, right there."
Did you see Holmes and Watson?
No, the trailer kind of even turned me off. From that.
It's not bad. It's
Is it?
stupid. It's a comedy. It's stupid, but that a huge plot point is him trying to figure out what hat he's going to wear. And he's got all kinds of ridiculous hats on throughout the whole thing. And I just think I think that was hilarious in that.
To have it be like that.
Yeah, like which hat am I going to wear? And of course he's going to settle on the one he gets.
Yeah. That's Will Ferrell playing
Yeah, Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly.
They're a good comedy duo. So
Yeah.
if
And
anything,
then
it
there's
should
two
be that.
women too that are basically kind of they're dopey and they're not so dopey, but they're quirky in their own ways.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's all right.
Well, that's
It's
good.
all right. It's not
Because-
as good as the Hound of the Baskervilles though.
Well,
And this is a straightforward one.
so, and the thing that really kind of, and this might be just a silly, stupid little thing, the thing that really sold me on Cushing's performance was actually right in the beginning, when he's basically laying down in an armchair, stretched out.
Yeah, yeah. And the guy, he's like rambling
Talking
off
to
to the
him,
guy
yeah. And he's just
about all
kinda
the stuff. He's like, I don't need to bother even thinking about it.
Yeah, I just was like, "What? He's doing he's doing a fantastic job." You've
Yeah.
immediately sold me.
Yeah.
Because one of my favorite Sherlock Holmes adaptations is Disney's The Mouse Detective,
Yeah, that's a good one.
and it's pretty accurate to the
Well-
character of Sherlock Holmes too.
It is. It was based on a book
Yeah,
called The Mouse of Baker Street or something like that.
but it was
Of Baker Street. And it's not Sherlock. Oh my God, I read it when I was a kid. Before that movie came out. I'm like, that movie looks like it might be. I know why you like that movie, you
It
son
has
of a
nothing
bitch.
to
Yeah,
do with
whatever.
Cool thing about that movie, it's like one of the first ever big, like, to blow up. Because there's been movies that had this in the past, but this had 3D animation and hand drawn, like CGI and hand drawn.
The Great
bits.
Mouse Detective?
It was one of the first ones to have it.
Where-
That's like the Basil and all that.
Basil of Baker Street. That's the name of the
Right?
book.
It's like that, right? It's the mouse and Radigan
Yeah.
and all
Yeah.
that. Yeah, the clock scene, the clockwork.
Oh, yeah, he's right.
He's
Yeah.
running through the
All
clock,
that, all
all
the
of that,
gears.
but they are hand drawn.
Right.
but I mean, ironically, but it didn't have anything to do with that. I just really liked
It's good.
him.
It is good.
Basil. Basil's one of my favorite Disney characters.
Yeah.
So to go, growing up kind of on that to this, I think it was a very nice. It fits really well. So if you like that,
Yeah.
Disney one, you probably really like this one.
And it's set. It's not supposed to be in modern times.
No.
So it looks kind of old because it
Yes.
is from 1959 and it's done in a 1959 manner.
Yes.
You don't mind because it's
Because it's
Old.
supposed to be old.
Yeah.
And
And
it
even
does
older than
feel
that.
like a good period drama too.
yeah, it does.
And so I'm kind of surprised why it didn't take off.
Me too. It really is weird.
Yeah, because it really, because like Hammer is.
They expected it to.
Everybody put all the A grades into it, all their best foot forward, and just didn't
Yeah.
take off. But Hammer not really being known for its, fantastic stuff. This one, again, like I keep saying, they play to their strengths, and this one does that too. Everything that's set up is paid off,
Yep.
and it's all well done. Honestly, like I think this movie's great.
Yeah.
So Christopher Lee is playing a descendant of the Henry family or whatever it is.
Baskerville family.
The Baskerville family. And they have a curse on them because
The movie opens up in the way back times, like 1700s or something like
Yeah,
that,
maybe
where the
even
guy
before
looks
that.
like Gaston. Yeah, it might even be before that. And they're going to, his like servant, they got his daughter up in
Locked
a
up
room.
in a
Yeah, all
room.
these rich guys that were just hunting. And they're going to have their way with her or something. And the guy begs not to. And she escapes.
and he hunts her down.
Baskerville's pissed and hunts her down and ends up killing her.
And I guess once that happened up there, because they go to like an abandoned courtyard castle.
Yeah, like
looking
old
thing.
ruins. It's ruined even in
They
the
give
old
it a
days.
name too,
Yeah,
and I can't remember the name,
I
but
can't either. I watched it 2 weeks ago.
I did too. It has it kind of looks just like a courtyard, and he's got this very specific knife
Yeah,
that he kills her with, and then lightning crashes, the dog howls,
yeah,
and it cuts to his face. Flash forward to modern era, where now basically it's happening again, and
yeah. It stayed in their family, and
Yeah.
the guy died and willed it to Christopher Lee, Henry Baskerville,
yes,
and he's going to go out there and tend to affairs, whatever
essentially just kind of
the 1% does with that kind of stuff.
see the estate because they're there for a while, and Christopher Lee starts falling in love with a pretty townsfolk girl,
Yep.
and because it's funny because he sent Sherlock Holmes sends Watson out there to just kind of
To accompany him,
Yeah.
because he doesn't want him going out there alone.
because somebody might be endangering this man's life
Right.
because a shoe got stolen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're kind of just seeing to affairs and being kind of cordial, and they have good chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
And then it turns out that Sherlock Holmes has been kind of snooping around investigating
Yeah. Right.
in his own time without anybody in his way,
Yep.
which is very Sherlock Holmesy. And he starts falling in love with the girl, and he's worried that this is a real thing and that Hound's going to kill him now
Yeah.
too.
Right.
And kind of, it's Scooby-Doo-ish, where you're just kind of
It is a little bit.
and there's not really a whole lot going on. You've got like the dinner
Mm-hmm.
and just minor world interactions building up to a final climax
Right.
with what would turn out to be the love interest's father
Yep.
is the one kind of sending this hound after
Right.
the Baskervilles. And I like that from jump. He's like, Sherlock Holmes, like, this isn't actually, there's nothing supernatural about
Right.
this.
I'm not afraid at all.
Yeah, he's not. He finds the knife. There's no blood on it or anything like that.
Yeah.
I kind of thought that there was like, the opener happened like 100 years ago. Now this is happening and it's going to be resolved. But it almost feels like it's not that either. Because the guy who died is the one who aired it to Christopher Lee, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Right.
So it couldn't have been a giant time jump. It just happened to have been that.
Oh, I think it just went down through the generations.
Because there's a picture missing too. The
Yeah,
first
there
guy with
was.
the
I don't-
curse, and then they keep going down the line of other people. And there is a picture missing. And I don't know. It kind of confused me. Like,
Mhm.
was that opener a giant time jump to what would be the modern era? Or was that the last person in the line of the curse? Because
Yeah, I think it's the big time jump one. I think there's a generational curse on these people.
yeah, well, they act like there is.
Right.
So I like to believe that that's what happened.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't really specify.
Not really.
It leaves it up to your interpretation, which is not necessarily a bad thing
No.
because it works either way. It works, if it's his grandfather, if it works as his great grandfather.
Right.
There's not really a whole lot of like fun facts or anything really I found about
Well, I
this movie.
found a couple.
You did?
First of all, like I mentioned before, this was supposed to be the beginning of a Sherlock Holmes series. But Terence Fisher, the director, also directed Dracula, the Peter Cushing,
Oh, really?
Christopher Lee one.
The first one?
Yeah, and that hallway, Baskerville Hall,
Yeah.
is the
Is
set
the set-
from Dracula.
I knew it. I was like, this looks just like the Dracula castle. That's cool.
It is the Dracula castle, and also Christopher Lee has arachnophobia. So when he was, every time he looked scared about that, oh my God, spider, he was.
Really is.
There we go.
Imagine.
Yeah, and I think when it's on his shoulder, it's fake, but yeah, he was really afraid of spiders. So
They beat that spider too.
yeah, they did. They beat it to death.
They went a little overboard.
If you don't have anything else, also, I'll just say this. I just found this out today. I was just at work on my break looking at stuff. Arthur Conan Doyle worked with a guy that guy did a lot of plot stuff. He said he was his plot producer or something like that way back in the day. And he died under mysterious circumstances. And people think Arthur Conan Doyle, because he was having an affair with a guy's wife too, poisoned him and killed him.
Oh my God!
And there was a lot of stuff like a lot of what he did was a lot of the story.
Mm-hmm.
So if he went off on his own, Conan Doyle would have been screwed. You know what I mean? He didn't have all the chops he needed to do that. And yeah, they think he poisoned him. And even what's it called? Scotland Yard got involved to investigate it and everything. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
So he really might be a killer.
He might be.
Wow.
He got away with it too.
Maybe he's a Zodiac killer. I did know that Cushing had the pipe in his mouth for a lot of his scenes.
Yeah.
And he didn't like it. He didn't like the taste that it left in his mouth, so he had a glass of milk on set a lot of the time.
Yeah,
to
I've seen
kinda
that
wash
too.
it out. Which I thought, I don't know if Peter Cushing was a big smoker or not, but I figured either it wouldn't have had tobacco in it, or
Right.
it would have just been, because I've got a pipe, because Sherlock Holmes is cool.
For bubbles.
To just kind of, put in your mouth. And it doesn't have a flavor to it, so I wonder why
His looked like it
does.
was wood.
Well, yeah, mine's got a plastic tip, and
Right.
his was probably a real corncob pipe. Maybe not corncob.
It wasn't corncob, but
Looking at IMDb here, they say that this was one of the first movie roles for André Morell.
yeah, and he did not get along with Christopher Lee.
Wow.
And vice versa. They hated each other and avoided each other when they weren't working.
That's
And
I
you
wonder
cannot
why.
tell. You
No.
can't tell. They
They're
do a good job.
professional
Yeah.
actors. I thought they would have gotten along fine on
Yeah.
set.
Everybody else did.
I wonder why. I wonder why they didn't like each other.
When I was reading it didn't say why. They just didn't like each other. You know, something. You know,
Some
you
just
just
not
like,
like
that
him, I
guy's got
guess.
a punchable face. You know, maybe it could be something like that.
Yeah, probably could have been exactly that. And because Christopher Lee is especially at this point, he's lived already a pretty eccentric life.
Yeah.
You know, he was. I don't think we've actually talked about his backstory.
No, he was in
All too much,
the
but-
army or something.
Yeah, he was in the army
Like a paratrooper or something.
during World War II.
Yeah.
Then after World War II, he went and hunted Nazis
Yeah.
and did a really good job at it. And then became an actor, and he loved music, and he's got a couple death metal albums.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And,
like,
you know, I've heard some of that stuff. I don't like the music so much, but if it was a little better music, and it's like cliche metal music, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not good. If he did it with somebody else, it would have been awesome.
and he's a
Because he just talks, really.
Yeah, he's got a deep
He
voice.
writes all that stuff, but he's talking it, and it would sound really cool if the music sounded cool.
like it's like talk singing,
Yeah.
because he's just doing this.
Yeah.
and he sounds like that. So it's weird.
Yeah.
But he's a direct descendant of Charlemagne.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, and he's got a rock opera about Charlemagne. And it's not too bad. I listened to it at work once.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, you can give it a listen. It's pretty wild. He also did. Well, what was I about to say about Christopher Lee? Well, now I can't remember it. But he's a cool guy.
He is a cool guy. He was everything he's in. He's always just good.
Yeah,
pretty much, except for Count Dracula,
You
because
don't
he
like it as
phoned it
Dracula?
in. No, that Count Dracula from 1972. Remember we did the Dracula thing,
yeah.
and I watched one. It's called Count Dracula,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's just boring and crap. But his Count Dooku was cool.
His Count Dooku's awesome.
I wish there was more Count Dooku in those movies.
Me too.
And the Lord of the Rings. He's Sauron, right?
Saruman.
I always get those two confused, but the words, and he does a great job in that too. I wish I've seen, the extended versions,
Right.
that are a little dry.
Yeah.
People would say they're boring.
I like him
I like that too, but I could use more Sauron too.
because he's a good actor. And
He
you
is.
know, Peter Jackson, because he gets stabbed in the back
Yeah,
in Lord of the Rings. Peter Jackson's like, you got to do it like this. You got to go, ah! And he's like, because he wasn't doing, he was inhaling. And he's like, we got to do it the other way. And he's like, but that's not what people sound like when you stab them in the back.
he would know probably
And
too.
Peter Jackson's like, how do you know that? And that's, I think, on those bonus features, he talks about.
Oh,
his-
really?
What he used to do and why he does know that. He infamously plays the man with the golden gun.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. The Man with the Golden Gun.
And he's on the Wings Born
Band on the Run.
Band on the Run album. He's one of those guys. So like he really just pops up everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. And then like Christopher Lee, I believe he's like a Juilliard actor and really
Are you talking
well
about
trained.
the other one, Peter Cushing?
Peter Cushing. He's like a really well trained actor. and
Yeah.
got into it really. I mean, he's not young, but like when he was a younger man,
Mhm.
because the man was born 85. He's just never been
Yikes.
young looking.
Yeah, really.
And he's great in this. So I'm kind of curious because they're both professional actors.
Yeah.
So why any kind of discourse happen on set, I don't know.
Yeah, because that guy that did Watson, he did a good job as Watson.
He's great.
Yeah.
He's really good.
Better than the black and white Basil Rathbone one.
Uh-huh. And I mean, kind of, I don't know if you've seen Sherlock, the BBC show with Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, I didn't
and,
like it.
Martin
Yeah.
Freeman.
Yeah, Martin Freeman.
I think it's fine. It just gets a little too much. And,
I think he plays him too condescending.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
it just turned me off. I'm like, I don't want to watch this. Because
Well-
I really love Robert Downey Jr.'s.
I was going to bring that up next.
And
I was going to
he's-
ask which one you guys like more.
I like, those are my favorite.
I know
those
they're
two
your
movies
favorites.
are phenomenal. And there's going to be a third one.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Is Guy Ritchie coming back?
Yeah.
Oh,
The whole gang's back together.
I'll go
But
see that.
Dude,
yeah, him and
the
Jude Law,
SCU.
perfect.
Yeah, see. I think Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law not only do those characters really well, but their chemistry together
Yes, it's perfect.
is the best version of
Yeah.
of that.
I think so too.
And you buy it. Robert Downey Jr. plays such a great Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
Because I guess being an egotistical, arrogant jerk.
yeah, he
is
comes
kinda-
across that way, but in a lovable kind of way.
Yeah, like
Because Tony Stark's kind of an a-hole too.
Yeah, but
But
you're,
you
you're
love
like,
him.
All right, yeah, okay. You got it. He's not wrong.
Yeah.
And he's great. And then Jude Law, being the straight man to
Mhm.
Tony Stark's spaghetti monster, is really well. That was
Yeah.
Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr.'s.
What's the difference?
Well, what's the difference now? He's Jeff Goldblum himself, I think. Where he's just that,
Yeah.
he found that character, and that's what he's playing now.
And he plays him in Date Night or Due Date.
He
with-
plays Sherlock Holmes.
No, he plays an arrogant ass that you can't help but like.
Yeah.
And then what's his name? He was the guy with the baby in Hangover.
Zach Galifianakis?
Zach Galifianakis, yeah, is the exact opposite. He's like the annoying guy you don't want to be around. That movie is great. Date night. Watch Sherlock Holmes, Hound of the Baskervilles, and then Date Night.
Pair it with Date Night.
They're completely different.
But to answer Mr.
Due date,
Randy's,
not Date Night. Due date.
Yeah, because it's a travel movie, right?
Yeah, it's a road movie.
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. is trying to. His wife is in Los Angeles. That Zach Galifianakis keeps calling Hollywood. He just refers to it always as Hollywood. And she's having a baby, and he's got to get there, and he can't get on the plane now. And then he gets on. He's on some kind of a list. It's just really good, and it's absolutely nothing like Sherlock Holmes.
But to answer Randy's question about which one I think played the best Sherlock, I don't know, because each one is pretty unique to themselves.
But mine is Robert Downey Jr. And then is Peter Cushing.
But I think I like Downey Jr.'s best.
Yeah.
I think if I was going to say who was the most accurate, probably Peter Cushing.
Yeah, probably because he, like I said, he's like, no, we got to have the hat.
Yeah.
But the everything else, like this is a period movie because it doesn't take place in 1959. It takes place way before that.
Right.
Just the Guy Ritchie ones it's just way more believable that that's exactly what London looked like
back
in the 1800s.
Right. Yeah, I can see that.
They just go all out on that. And everybody's clean. They're not clean. Everything's done with coal.
Yeah, it's
coal and gas.
Like,
it's dirty there all the time.
That's something I never really think about. Is that like London in the 1800s was in its industrial revolution.
Yeah, right.
It was all smog. The streets were covered in garbage.
Yeah,
it was not
it's not London of today.
Time, no. But that's kind of what happens when you're revolutionizing your industry.
Yeah,
it gets a little dirty.
You can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs.
No, you cannot. It also says here that the Baskerville Hall. This is what you just read. Was Count Dracula. I like pulling up the IMDb page for some of this because it's got a lot of fun facts.
Yeah.
That sometimes go unmissed. Like to this day, this movie is still released in a censored version for the British market. 2 scenes are not included. The scene where Sir Hugo Baskerville pushes the servant into the burning fireplace. Apparently, that's not in the British version. Which is weird because I've got the Arrow, which was a Region B, that was on that. So I don't know.
That must be the uncut version.
It must be. And then where he murders the girl, there were more camera shots instead of just a push in on her from the Hound's perspective.
Really? Because that's there weren't many shots in the version I saw.
Did you watch it on Tubi?
No.
Because I noticed it was on Tubi.
I watched it
TV.
on Amazon.
Okay. But yeah, you got a couple pictures on here. Do you know what? Let's see if we can talk about some of the screen grabs. And while he's pulling that up, what was your first initial reaction to this movie?
I thought it was good. I was pleasantly surprised the first time I watched this movie.
Yeah, I agree.
And I only watched it because I had watched some other whodunit, and I wanted to watch another one. And this one came up. It was free to watch on Amazon, so I watched it. And I'm like, wow, that's really good. Then I wanted to see Peter Cushing as Sherlock Holmes. Because I thought he would pull it off, and he does.
He does. That was actually the whole reason why. Because this was the first time I saw this movie. And I was at the video store down here, and I was just kind of looking through what they had, and it said the Hound of the Baskervilles, and the text on the side. I was like, okay, that sounds cool. I pull it out, and there those two are, and I was like, oh wow,
yeah, right,
sure, why not?
That's a no-brainer. Also, I figured I wanted to see. It was supposed to be kind of supernatural with this hellhound thing.
Yeah,
I wanted to see how that worked out.
That ended out.
Yeah,
I'm kind of glad that nothing supernatural happened.
Yeah, of course not.
It
It's
was
real
just
life.
a dog,
Yeah.
and it was explained. I think that's great.
Yeah.
But Hugo Baskerville with the red shirt did not know that. That's
where he looks like Gaston.
Yeah.
And I totally see what you're saying by that.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder if
Gaston's French, but French, but they must probably rich people. They're all the same.
That's
all
how
over
it
the
is.
world.
Well,
Next is the killer. The lady in a
Yeah, that's when
bridge.
That's where Hugo's about to kill that girl just for existing. Basically, he's a real piece of
yeah,
it.
he's a jerk. He's a jerk. And
Not a nice guy.
He gets what he deserves. But to comment on your Gaston reference there, in Disney's Ichabod and Mr. Toad,
Mm-hmm.
the Haunted Horseman, the Headless Horseman, half of that two-parter,
Right.
your guy there looks like Gaston too, the one telling the story.
Yeah,
about-
he does.
Yeah,
He
so
probably is.
I think
Because they used to recycle all that
I think
stuff.
that he was where the inspiration was,
Yeah.
because he's built the same way too,
Yeah.
and looks just like that.
Next, we got the two buddies hanging out. We got Sherlock Holmes and Watson.
Yeah, that's
he has
what-
the
yeah.
hat on this time.
I like when Watson goes up there to kind of investigate what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
He just bumps into Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, here." He's like, "Well, yeah, I didn't want to be disturbed." Like, duh. They're in the forest, and there's a dog there too, right?
Yeah.
And it
Like a dog that's going to attack. Christopher Lee's macking on the girl,
yeah.
and he kind of protects her from it. But you'd think, is this it? Is this the devil dog? And
Right.
It's not. It's just a mean dog.
I am glad that this didn't turn out to be a werewolf movie,
Mm-hmm.
because I kind of don't like werewolf movies.
I do.
And I think that you couldn't. I mean, it would be kind of cool to see Sherlock Holmes take on something
Right.
like that. But I'm glad that's not the direction they went
Right.
with.
Like even the Robert Downey Jr. one, the first one is all supernatural and the devil worship and stuff, and it's all just cheap tricks.
Yeah.
Everything's a cheap trick, and he knows it. I think that's cool because it looks fantastical,
Right.
but it's not. It's just a trick.
Because it worked really well with Scooby-Doo when, it's always a man in a mask.
Yeah.
And now this time it's not. So I don't know if there is an example of this, but maybe they should do like Sherlock Holmes in the haunted house,
Uh-huh.
and it's an actual haunted house.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah.
And like you think he solved it, and then he leaves, and then whatever, disappeared in the house, kind of looks at the camera and then disappears. That'd be kind of cool, Henry Baskerville, Mr. Sir Christopher Lee. Wow. I just spent a whole 30 minutes talking about him. Forgot his name. Great job. Yeah. What would you rate this movie?
I give it 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs
I
up?
would recommend it to anybody
Yeah.
because, of any age, younger people are going to be kind of scared by stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
I would definitely
it's
show
not.
this with my kids. This
Sure.
would be a good Halloween movie, because
Yeah.
it's atmospheric more than it is scary.
yeah, that's mostly what it is atmospheric.
Yeah. So it would be great. If you like the Great Mouse Detective, I think you'd love this. And if you
Yeah.
show your kids the Great Mouse Detective, you could show them this.
Yeah, especially because all the violence takes place off screen.
Yeah, literally all of it.
Yeah.
You don't get to see any of it, which I think actually was kind of done pretty well in this.
I think so too.
I think sometimes it's kind of annoying, but in this it's done really well. There's oh man, I don't know if it was this movie or another movie I saw, but there's somebody dies and they do it in the silhouette.
Yeah. That's always
Great
cool
way
too.
to do it. Yeah. I stole that from one of my short films once. I did that. But yeah, I had the same pretty much initial reaction you did, and we both liked this movie. So I don't really
It's a
have anything
surprising,
else.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, if you've never seen anything like this before, you'll be surprised at how good it is.
If you're worried about watching older movies because
Yeah.
of the budget and stuff like that, and it being like obviously fake, this is a safe one to watch
Yeah.
because they do it well.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel cheap. I think
Yeah,
that's
there's
the
nothing
thing
cheap
that
about
turns
it.
people off
Yeah.
is when it feels cheap. Like when you get one of those Roger Corman movies, and
Mhm.
like, okay, man. But this isn't like that.
No.
This is no Wasp Woman.
No, I was going to say that.
But that's really all I have to say about this one. You know, like it was a pleasant experience. And
Yeah.
I'm very glad I watched
Check it out. It's
Check
pretty
it
cool.
out because it is great. Randy,
And you don't see anything like this now.
You don't. They
You'll
don't
never.
do stuff like this.
It'll be a new experience for you.
Yeah, and even the dog effect, like it. I mean, like it's with the lightning behind it,
Yeah,
the
right.
flashing, like
It's
it
dramatic.
sells it, yeah. And Randy, I don't know if you checked it out or not, but I think you would like this movie.
I probably would like this movie.
Yeah,
It
It's
goes
on,
by really quick too.
It does.
It's not. I don't think it's very long, but it goes by. It's well paced.
Yeah, and it's not. It doesn't drag. There's no
Nope.
dragging. I never sat there and I was like, all right, come on, can we skip past this part? Even the romance stuff, I
Right.
think is done really well. All of it, I think a 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
I really, really do suggest
definitely.
this movie.
Maybe in 2 episodes I will have notes for it.
But that's what we'll call it here. I
Yeah.
have been Cheesefilm.
And Hecubus,
And Randy Official.
the official.
Welcome back to the
David.
Grindhouse Podcast. We'll catch you next time on the Grindhouse Podcast. I just said it. What do you expect? You
The
want-
Grindhouse.
I'm just kidding around. Peace and love. Cheesefilm out.